Okay, whoa. Welcome to the That's Okay Broncos podcast. I'm Brandon Perna here with Will Keys. This is a football podcast where our entire goal is to get John Hamm as a guest one day. We're going to make it happen. We're going to talk about the Broncos losing 19-16 to the Chargers, which I unfortunately predicted exactly just before Christmas. Today's episode, though, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. If you used my score prediction, you probably could have won $1 billion. I don't know how much you would have had to bet to get the exact score right to win $1 billion, but anything's
just
possible.
$1 million. Just $1 million.
No,
yeah.
Billion. Use code DNVR when you sign up to take advantage of their can't miss offers. Also, benchwarmerbrew.com, my coffee company. If you want some really, really good coffee, check that shit out. But yeah, I decided we were not going to go live on YouTube after this Broncos game, Will, because I don't think anyone gives a shit. And then the Broncos lost in a way that I, in good conscience, couldn't even take super chats from Broncos fans on this eve. So
No.
I figured we would just chip away through this game. I mentioned John Hamm coming onto the podcast. We might get into some NFL happenings because there's a lot that fucking happened over the last few days. But last night I was playing Oculus Quest, and I was playing the Creed boxing game instead of
How is that?
It's pretty good. I was playing against my buddy who just got Oculus, and
can you do that online or is it in person?
No, you play against each other through the interwebs, and it's extremely tiring, but like it does whatever you do. So like you're in the boxing ring and you can obviously just do a bunch of this shit and it looks stupid. And we did one round and we were both pretty winded, so we tried to play some other games. But the point, I was not watching the end of the Dolphins-Raiders game, and Will texted me, "Our wet dream is coming true." And I said, "John Hamm on the podcast?" And Will said, "No, Fitzmagic in the playoffs." So we might get one of the two, even though Fitzmagic
Maybe both.
Not going to start next week, according to Brian Flores. Who knows?
He knows that he's better coming off the bench, and that's okay.
That's what I said.
He's setting this up for some good bench warmer tweets is what he's doing.
Yep. I said I'll give Fitzmagic the bench player of the week every single week, all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yep. I think it's just kind of a perfect strategy. I was blown away last night by the ending of that game.
Oh, it's insane.
I didn't know I couldn't put it into words. It wasn't even John Gruden's fault, really. I think he played the end of that game pretty well. I mean, 19 seconds left. I don't know. How can you prepare for Fitzmagic on the other side?
You score a touchdown. That's how.
The only way to do it is to leave 0-0-0 on the clock, really. That's the only way to be sure.
That's the only way. You give that guy 1 second, he's going to make you pay.
That's all he needed. It was amazing. They had 19 seconds, and they're literally killing time to get to the field goal. Just looking up to the heavens and just dropping a dime to Matt Collins on the sideline.
He completed a pass like this.
Yeah. It was perfect. Somehow the Raiders decided to blow a coverage exactly where he threw it. So impressive, so magical, so Fitzmagical. I tweeted with the Benchwarmer account that I wonder what Jalen Hurts was thinking, seeing Tua get benched like he did in the national championship for Tua. Now Jalen Hurts is off to a good start today. Now he looks like he's getting out-dueled by Andy Dalton, who, of course, now it looks like we're going to get the Cowboys in the playoffs. But
did Washington lose?
Last I saw, I know I was a little behind. because
I was working
focused on our game, unfortunately.
The morning games because I'm getting the Panthers beat Washington. Oh my God! So the NFC East right now, you called this one, much like I predicted the Broncos score. Well, Washington. I guess is the Cowboys game not over yet? No.
Nope.
Yeah, it's gonna be. They'll both have the same record. So.
And they correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they play next week, don't they?
Let's take a look. No, Washington plays the Eagles. The Cowboys get the Giants.
I think the Giants are done. I don't know. I'm not interested.
Who cares about the NFC East? Right?
Yeah, they should forfeit their spot.
Here's what's shitty.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, the Buccaneers are the team who's going to play the winner of the NFC East. So Tampa getting another break.
I really I was watching that game, and of course the Lions were down to their 7th string head coach.
Yeah.
Somehow against Tom Brady, and it looked like it. It really looked like it. They had no idea what they're doing. Matthew Stafford gets hurt, and I was about to text you that we were on a crash course for Chiefs Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and I didn't want to ruin your morning like that. I imagined you having like a nice, pleasant Christmas, and then having a good time in the hours directly thereafter. And I didn't want to send that bad thought into your mind.
I don't think the Bucs are going to make it to the Super Bowl. The Lions, they lost Stafford on the second series. They didn't have any defensive coaches. Their defense has not been good all year. Like, I don't take a lot of stock in this game. And I think, honestly, like, the Bucs – they're going to play the Falcons again next week. So they got these 3 easy games getting in. They're probably going to get an easy game that first round, but I think they get bounced the second round when they have to play a real team.
Yeah, they have a month-long bye week heading into the divisional round. So, yeah, as usual for Tom Brady.
Just coasting. I'm sure Barry McCockner's on the edge of just ending it all.
Barry McCockner is like furiously cutting up Tom Brady highlights of all of his missed throws from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh man, at this point, what can you do? Just you got to accept it until like they play the Packers or something. And then it'll get real. Like nothing matters until then.
No, and where's the playoff picture now? The Bears are the 7th seed. The Rams are 6. Washington is at 4 for now. So maybe Dallas is all of a sudden is a little bit good, and they can beat the Buccaneers, which would be satisfying.
Maybe,
anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be playing at home. They're going to have fans there. You never know. Andy Dalton gets hot. We know how effective he usually is in the playoffs. So anything can happen.
Dude,
I wouldn't bet on the Cowboys necessarily.
No.
But it would be a lot of fun to see. And I think, of course, naturally they'd get like the primetime slot that week because you got Tom Brady versus the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they just like clear out an entire week for that game. In between wild card and divisional, just so everybody they can like sell more ads specifically for that game. But it's kind of bizarre because the team that threw a real monkey wrench into the playoff picture the last 2 weeks was the New York Jets because they beat the Rams, and now it looks like they set up the Seahawks right behind you to win the NFC West. They're up 20-9 right now. And they beat the Cleveland Browns this week. And the Browns still have an opportunity to get in. But they really muddled that whole AFC picture quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of bizarre that a team with, 10 or 11 wins or whatever it is, is going to miss the playoffs in the AFC, even when they expanded to 7 playoff teams this year.
Yeah, because right now the Colts are at they're 10-5 on the outside looking in. The Browns are 10-5. The Ravens are 10-5. The Dolphins are 10-5, and the Bucs clinched their playoff spot at 10-5 because Washington 6-9. Rams are going to fall to 9-6. The Bears are 8-7. So yeah, it's very bizarre that it's been even more competitive, I guess, with that extra spot. And the Browns got basically the Denver Bronco Kendall Hinton treatment this week because they had to bench 4 of their top receivers. So 4 of their 5 starting receivers could not play. 2 of their linebackers could not play. And it turns out that is still important. You still want receivers who are better than the practice squad. Credit the Jets, though, for really they held Chubb and Hunt to 4 rushing yards in the first half. I think getting rid of Greg Williams was a smart move because our defense is playing better. But to me, it's like you as a Browns fan, you would want to see Baker Mayfield sort of carry the team in a game like that, and your running game, which has been the strength all season, sort of dominate, and they couldn't do it. They missed a PAT, and now they have to win next week, but they play the Steelers, who have nothing to play for, so maybe the Browns get in.
Nothing to play for other than spoiling the Browns playoff trip, which feels like a lot to play for the Steelers. And I think the Steelers, honestly, they're probably going to want to like put together a good full game before they head into the playoffs. It's not like they're like a team that should be resting on their laurels right now. They played really well in that second half. And they really finally started connecting on some like deep shots there. And that freed up the running game for the Steelers, which made all the difference in the world. We got a late game interception from Phillip Rivers. And then another, he tried to throw another pick late in the game, but they called it holding or defensive pass interference or whatever. But vintage Rivers, which was nice to see this late into the season. But back to that Browns game, I think Baker Mayfield threw the ball something like 53 times. I didn't really recognize the wide receivers he was throwing to.
No.
A guy named Bradley. I guess they're splitting out Hunt a lot, and I hate that, really. It's just to have someone like, be deemed a close contact. How many times this season have guys been ruled out because they're close contact and they never even test positive. It's frustrating for a team like the Browns, who this was like, this is such a big moment for them. And then they have 4th and 1 late in the game. Baker Mayfield tries to sneak it. The ball gets knocked out, goes to Kareem Hunt, miraculously catches it out of midair. Doesn't even catch it, just goes into him, and he just puts it in his chest and plows forward for what looks like a first down. And they ruled that it's a fumble, so you can't advance it on 4th down. And that doesn't make any sense to me, really, because
that fumble rule is stupid.
The ball never hits the ground. How do you distinguish that from a pitch or a handoff? I mean, I know we can very clearly tell that it's a fumble, but it never hit the ground. So what do you do there? I think they got jobbed a little bit, both before the game and not a great call at the end of the game. Still, a situation where they should have won, I suppose. But the Jets
still needed to score a touchdown there, and
Jets have been playing well.
Jets are playing better, and the Colts got reffed in the second half too. They had 2 bad pass interference calls on the same series, and one of them, the ball was tipped, and the officials just didn't see it or
whatever.
Didn't give a fuck. So,
Yeah, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were like, well, looks like it might have been tipped. Phillip Rivers might have had a case there. And
the problem is Phillip Rivers bitches too much. Nobody's going to take him seriously.
Yeah, he's the boy who cried wolf. There's also a play, and we don't want to we're not complaining about the refs too much on behalf of the Colts or anti-Steelers or anything, but Naeem Hines caught a screen pass at the end of the second half and went for like 60 yards or something, 60, 70 yards, and it got called back just due to the most ticky-tack, like accidental blocking in the back calls on, I think it was like Mark Glowinski, their offensive lineman. And that really changed the game because then the Colts get pushed back. They have to punt before halftime. And they really could have scored a touchdown or kicked a field goal at the end of half there, and it totally shifted the game. I mean, they're up 17, so you can't really.
Was the block away from the play?
No, it was there. It's just like it wasn't really his fault. Like it's like the defender kind of ran into him going backwards, and it didn't really
stupid.
Look like. Yeah, it's not intentional, I don't think.
Anyway. We have been avoiding talking about the Broncos because the way they lost.
Not much to talk about.
Sucked.
It sucked. Where do you go from this one? I mean, the only thing I took away from it was I really found myself, when it gets down to it, I always like find myself wanting to win in the moment.
Right.
And now I'm kind of ambivalent. It's like, okay, whatever. It's nice to not get blown out. But the conservative play, or not even the play calling, but the conservative like game management by Fangio was so bizarre to me.
Well, it's a conservative versus a conservative over with Anthony Lynn and the way he calls plays to not lose as well. Yeah, I think
it's a Republican primary over there.
Yeah. The issue I had was why not try a 68-yard field goal instead of a Hail Mary?
That's what we're talking about over here.
I feel like you've got a better shot of making that. It's been like a weird topic for the last 2 years about McManus saying he can hit 67-yarders. So
perfect conditions.
Go in there and, let him redeem himself from missing back-to-back 32 and 37-yard field goals earlier in the game, which would have been a difference. First play of this game, the Chargers have a big kick return. So just goes to show you another theme from this year is special teams coverage units have been bad. That's a big thing that's got to be addressed, I think, during the offseason, whether it's coaching or just, I don't know, maybe once the team gets healthy, they have a little bit better depth on special teams for those things, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Good point.
Drew Lock threw an interception on the opening drive. The Broncos were it was a long drive, really long drive for the Broncos.
It was a good drive.
A good drive, running, throwing, making smart plays. And then Drew Lock does something good. He extends the play, like he scrambles, gets out of pressure, and then right at the line of scrimmage, he decides to throw it. And he throws it behind his receiver. It gets tipped up, and the Chargers intercept it. So the Broncos lose points there. It's like just another thing you get frustrated with Locke not showing improvement in certain situations. And then Jerry Jeudy dropped every fucking pass today. Dropped
How many
a touchdown.
Count, like 5 or 6?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I know what happened. You get in your head about it, and you're gonna keep dropping them. Like, it's just a bad game, and it's like you almost just have to recognize that and go away from.
That's the thing, though. Is he was a bad game, but he was still getting open, and he was still plays. Like productive outside of that. He still had like 6 catches for 65 yards or whatever, something around that. So it's not like he was just like abysmal. It's just if he catches like 4 out of 5 of those passes, he has a monster game.
Yeah.
And
one of them was a touchdown.
One of them was a touchdown. One of them was a dime by Drew Lock. One of them, if he scores the touchdown, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the game, they're running out of time, and Drew Lock just heaves it up right on target to Jerry Jeudy, and that ball goes through his hands again. He was just dropping the ball basically at every juncture. of the game, and you could tell like it was very visibly affecting him on the sideline and on the field.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not at all worried long term about him because this just happens with guys. But
yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned.
Got to work on the hands for sure. He's got to work on just like his composure a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying like
it's
something he can't change, but I'm more worried about it happening in a game that actually matters down the road.
Yeah, that's fair.
This really felt like week 1 when Jeudy had the 2 big drops?
Yep.
Yeah. And the Broncos lose to the Titans 16-14 in kind of, similar fashion. Jeudy would have had a huge game if he didn't have those drops. Melvin Gordon was effective. What do you got? He had 78 yards week 1, and then he had 79 yards this week. So just bizarre. It just felt way too familiar. The entire game just felt like everything we've hated about this season felt like it was happening again.
Yeah, especially because they land on 16 points, and it feels like they score 16 points.
Oh,
almost every game this season.
I hate the number 16, except for
you
Jake
called
Plummer.
it though.
Yeah, I did call it, but I had a little bit of faith that the Chargers are better at blowing games than the Broncos are at losing them. So I thought maybe at the end, even though they're clearly getting into field goal range, I thought if the kick was long enough, Badgley was just going to shank it like he's done a few times this year. Yeah. But they got too damn close, and even close, fucking Anthony Lynn goes empty set with Justin Herbert, not even making the illusion that the Chargers might run in that situation.
Made no
also
sense.
Throwing it, and luckily,
ironically, like they got lucky because he got sacked.
He got sacked.
Another 40 seconds run off the clock.
Yeah, it was.
He gets that ball off and it's incomplete. Then I don't know. Like maybe the Broncos come down and kick a field goal.
Broncos have a little more time. Like they don't have to necessarily try Hail Mary. They get one more play to actually give McManus a shot. Like it was that close.
They don't have to try the Hail Jerry.
Yeah. But I mean. Oh, here's my question I was going to ask you. Which is your favorite Vic Fangio sideline pose? This one or this one?
No, my favorite.
Whenever they cut to him, he's either got his hands on his knees with his head down, looking like he just puked, or his hands are under his pits.
I'm going to say option 3, and that's like his hands in his pants searching for that kidney stone that he just dropped. No, it has to be the Mary Catherine Gallagher pose with his hands in his armpits.
Yeah.
Because like I remember that first game last year against the Raiders, week 1 on Monday Night Football. Like you see Vic Fangio talk in press conferences and everything, and you like expect him to have this presence because you've never seen him on the sideline. He's been in the booth for as long as you can remember, so you don't have a sense of like who he is walking around the sideline, like what kind of presence he puts off. You got like guys like I'm trying to think of a guy who just like has a good presence on the sideline. Like I don't know, Kubiak was good. Like you looked at him and you felt reassured. But then I see that Monday night game and he's got his hands like dug all the way up his armpits, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know about this. I don't feel so good.
Mike Tomlin has a good presence.
Tomlin's great. Yeah,
he'll be standing like with his arms crossed, but he's got the aviators on and just a dead look on his face. You're like, nothing's phasing that guy.
McVay's good. He's different, but he's good because it looks like he's always just in the middle of diagnosing some play call.
Yeah.
Or just like reading off the play sheet at all times. So he looks like he's into it. You had Jim Caldwell who looked like he was like possibly dead on the sideline, like a weekend at Bernie situation. I don't know about Fangio's, his posture, composure, or anything, but it's never good.
It's never good.
He kind of coaches like that too. kind of just coaches like he's unsure about things. It's like earlier in the game, he puts up the signal to go for 2 and then calls it off.
Oh, yeah.
Take the extra point. Really made no sense there. The situation
extra point was the right call.
It was, yeah. Situation where they're down 16-3 and it's like 4th and 4. And they decide to kick the field goal there and cut a 2-score deficit down to a 2-score deficit, going 3-16 to 6-16. Really didn't make a lot of sense to me there. But especially just given the situation when you're 5-9.
Yeah.
And who cares? Like, they announced literally before the game, like, he's safe.
Yeah,
for another season.
It's kind of like
he should be, but
you really just want to push your team and see what you can get out of them in a pinch, in a hairy situation, because if you lose the game, ultimately you're in a better draft position, right? So that's irrelevant. It's like, take advantage of those situations and see how guys respond instead of just playing it so fucking safe, where you learn that McManus is going to make most of his field goals. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's the Broncos now have the 10th draft pick. They pick at 10, just ahead of the Cowboys. Is this updated?
How lucky were we when we went 4-12 in 2010 and somehow ended up with the 2nd pick and got Von Miller?
Oh,
4-12 would get you like the 5th pick now, something like that, 4th or 5th. Wouldn't do much. You really have to go 1-15 to get the first pick nowadays.
Yeah,
it's either so good or just awful.
Yeah, right now the Texans have the 3rd pick at 4-11, but that's the Dolphins pick. So nice for Houston.
Yeah.
Atlanta picks 4, Bengals 5, Eagles 6. Here's what's crazy. The Eagles just got eliminated from the playoffs, but they're picking 6th overall. The Giants are picking 8. The Cowboys are picking 11, and they still can be in the playoffs. But the Cowboys are 1 win away from getting into the playoffs, maybe. And the Washington at 6-9 with Dallas somehow just has the 19th pick. How does that make sense? Oh, probably because they win the division. So I don't know. Anyway, like, it's we learned that the Jags solidified the number 1 pick today with their loss and the Jets winning 2. So
yep. It's going to be it's going to be like last year. We have no like mystery as far as who's going first in the draft.
Correct.
Unless he decides not to come out, which you might want to think about it. Trevor Lawrence will be the first pick. After that, though, you get the Jets. It would appear. I think that's locked up.
Jets are at 2, and yes, it looks like it is locked.
So you don't know what's going to happen there. They could take a quarterback. They could take a tackle. They could trade down. A lot of things could happen. The Broncos at this point, you look at the mobility and like where they could go if they lost another game, and it's pretty enticing. Just on another hand, you really want to beat the Raiders. And this year with the draft, like, is such a weird college season that it's hard to evaluate a lot of guys, and you don't feel as confident with like a smaller sample size. And I don't know. I tend to think like if you can assure yourself that you're going to get in like a top 3 or maybe even a top 5 pick, then it's worth tanking the last couple of games. But the difference, there's so much variability after that in the first round that it doesn't really like feel worth it to me to lose games on purpose. And the good teams who are just good at drafting always kind of find a way to take good players. And I don't think, like, if you're like, oh, they should have lost that game because now instead of picking 8th, they're picking 11th or something like that. I don't know if that really appeals to me very much. It's like, the Raiders took Henry Ruggs at 10th or whatever, and the Vikings took Justin Jefferson in the 20s.
Yeah.
It's like, is it really that big of a difference after you get past like Joe Burrow?
I mean,
no one knows what they're doing, really.
I think it can be, but you don't know. Like,
I mean, I'm in favor of like the Jags. Obviously, they would have fucked up by winning today, and they clearly were lying down. And ESPN's Chris Mortensen thinks the NFL should take the pick away from the Jaguars for obviously tanking, which is ridiculous.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, sure thing, Chris. That's a situation where, like, yeah, you just got to lose. But I don't know.
Yeah,
when it gets down there, it gets so muddled, and who cares?
I think, like, what are you drafting for if you're the Broncos? To me,
that's a good question.
I feel like my number one would be a corner. Like, if you could get a top flight corner that is going to be great. But, like, who are the last corners taken top 10? How good are they really? Like, I know Denzel Ward for Cleveland a couple of years ago. Then what was this last year was
Jeff Okudah, who was like 3rd, I think.
3rd overall, and CJ Henderson
really played. Yeah, CJ Henderson for Jacksonville. I don't. It's hard to say, really.
Like, yeah, it's who you need at that spot too, and I mean, obviously you could take another tackle.
Yeah, and maybe you could take a quarterback if you really like him to trade up, but depends what you want to do. It's so many variables, really.
So many. If right now, because it looks like, let's say Stafford, Matt Ryan, and who's the other guy? Who did I put on my community tab?
Darnold?
Well, Darnold is in there.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Stafford, Ryan.
Stafford,
Minshew.
Ryan. Oh, and Fitzpatrick. Let's just say Fitzpatrick's available.
Okay.
You got to take one of those guys.
He'll be
Broncos
the
quarterback
Dolphins next year. I think it would be Matt Ryan for me. I think Matt Ryan's really good, and we have evidence of him playing at an MVP level. And Stafford has never played at an MVP level, I don't think. He's been really good. He's had really good seasons. He's had a season where he threw 40 touchdown passes.
Yep.
Back in 2011.
I saw this stat tweeted a ton. He's only had a 100-yard rusher in 11 games in his entire career. Yeah,
so you feel like if you he's been in such a sad, bad situation his whole career that who knows, like maybe if you put him in a situation with Denver where it's like, at the very least they're going to run the ball effectively like most of the time. And they should have a pretty good defense, and they have good receivers and a lot of talent coming back. It's like it's really intriguing.
Yeah,
the sky's the limit there. Like maybe everything that went wrong in Detroit suddenly, like, it's a strength for him.
What's intriguing about both of those guys in Ryan and Stafford too is both of them utilize their tight ends pretty well. And you saw Matt Ryan do it with Austin Hooper, and that's all Baker Mayfield had available really today in terms of experience. But I feel like Noah Fant with one of those guys would have just your 1,000-yard receiver, season from your tight end, because I feel they're just going to get more looks by those guys because they're going to have favorable matchups, and those type of quarterbacks are going to see it. I think I like the potential of Matthew Stafford a little more than Matt Ryan, but I am concerned about Matthew Stafford and him staying healthy, just because
That's true.
The last 2 years, and it's not like it's been, well, a bunch of micro fractures in your back the year before, pretty serious. This year just been banged up a little bit on and off, but I feel like Matt Ryan, very healthy, doesn't take – well, he's been sacked a lot this year, but he just never seems like he's injured, which I would almost make that – I would put Matt Ryan above Stafford just for that reason and for the Broncos, but I don't know.
I'd have to look how old – I think Matt Ryan will be 36 at the beginning of next year, which that doesn't really like – I don't know, 36 doesn't mean what it used to. And Peyton Manning was 36 when he came to Denver.
If you got Matt Ryan just for 2 seasons and he was really good and the Broncos were in the playoffs, I would be fine with it. Like,
so Stafford's 32. He'll be 33 next year.
Okay, yeah, so he's a lot
Ryan
younger.
will be 36. So that's a pretty big difference.
Why does it feel like they came into the league at the same time?
They were a year apart, I think. They were a year apart. Because Ryan was 2008. Stafford was 2009. I think Ryan just played all 4 years, and Stafford came out as a junior.
Okay.
At Georgia.
Yeah, so I mean, you could eat, like, if Stafford, say he does stay healthy, like 4 or 5 years, he's around the same age as Matt Ryan is.
Yeah.
3.5.
But I mean, it's like you trade the age for effectiveness.
Yeah.
Easily, if you think Ryan's going to be better. It's a decision to make. Like, I think at the very least one of those guys will be available. So you might not even – it might not come down to like a choice either. And then you have to say, like, okay,
right.
Matt Ryan, if you're Matt Ryan and you're making the choice, because we never ascribe like agency to the actual people in these equations until it comes down to it. But Matt Ryan, it's like, what do you want to do between going to Denver or you go to San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, where you had your best season?
Or you could go to New England. I'm assuming New England might be a player
you go to
for
New England.
Any of these guys, right? Yeah. Like, I think they're going to try to upgrade. I don't think they're bringing Cam Newton back. I don't know if they're going to draft a guy, but like –
feel like a Stafford kind of offense to me, but I'm sure they'd take him. They wouldn't turn him down, certainly.
I would take Ryan Fitzpatrick too, just for pure entertainment. And
I can see the Patriots trade up big for a quarterback this year.
Oh, could happen.
I think they realize, like, you can't skimp out. You can't go cheap at quarterback.
That's fair.
They felt like they could make it work with anybody. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what else you shouldn't go cheap on, Will?
What?
DraftKings Sportsbook. And the 2021 basketball season is here. The teams around the league took the offseason to retool and revamp and are ready to hit the court, just like those Sacktown Kings when they played the Nuggets. Boo, Will. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, has rolled out another one of their can't-miss offers. Trying DraftKings Sportsbook is easy. So what are you waiting for to get in on all of the action right now? To celebrate the return of B-Ball, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new players 100-1 odds on any featured matchup this week. That's right. All you got to do is bet $1 on any featured matchup this week, and if your team wins, you cash a crisp $100. DraftKings, of course, is safe, secure, reliable, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. And with basketball returning, DraftKings very excited about it, but we do have football playoffs. A lot of probably.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We got the playoffs.
Parlay, prop bets, all sorts of things going through the playoffs. So download DraftKings the top rated of apps in the American economy with code DNVR when you sign up to get $100 to $1 to get 100 to 1 odds on any featured matchup this week. That's code DNVR for new players to get a shot at $100 on any featured matchups this week for a limited time. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got to be 21 or older. This is for Colorado only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Nailed it.
Perfect. Yet again.
Time for me to take a CBD gummy.
Time for me to take my third Valtrex of the day.
Oh, yeah. We found out what happened to Will's face.
It was not I was very far off on a spider bite. I thought it was a spider bite. It looked like a spider bite. It was not. I will say it was my girlfriend who initially thought that. And so I'm not going to take any of the heat. I just agreed. Turns out it was shingles. So I wish it was a spider bite.
Yep.
That's explains the headband. It's not, my usual fashion style, but I don't know. Maybe it will be.
The good news is
Zach Wilson.
Will should be fine. He's gonna have to take shingle medication probably on and off for the rest of his life.
That's right.
He'll be all right. Stress will flare that shit up. So
Yep.
I will do my best to stress Will out when he writes me a shitty joke, and then give
yell
him
in my face.
All right. I think we've exercised what we need to with the Broncos.
I think we're feeling pretty good. I think all the games are over. We got Titans Packers coming up. That should be a good game. It's a snow game.
Fun.
I want to see Derrick Henry running in the snow. My official prediction is the Packers. I don't know if that's the prediction I made in the Patreon picks, but it's my prediction now.
Wow.
If you're listening to this, you might either be in the middle of the game or you'll know after if I'm right or wrong.
Exactly. I think Tennessee wins.
Okay.
It might be a weird high-scoring game in that both teams can run the ball.
If we get a huge Aaron Rodgers game, that should seal it. In the snow on Sunday Night Football, Mahomes was not very good today, but he got bailed out about 5,000 times, had a pick dropped in the end zone, a couple picks dropped, and then Younghoe Koo, they flash 27 made field goals in a row, and of course he can
poor
hooks it, but slices it.
What was he gonna do?
That's a good question.
And the ball just hooked right at the end too.
It's like he got picked up by a heavenly gust of wind.
Yeah, the
ushered it to the right.
It was AJ Terrell. He would have had a really impressive interception in the end zone. But he came down on the ground hard, and the ball bounced out. I don't blame him for it, but it would have prevented because then KC scored on the next play. So Falcons make that. They win. Mahomes threw his first goal-to-go interception. So, he wasn't great. Travis Kelce broke Kittle's record, so it's just all-around shitty game if you aren't rooting for the Chiefs, which we are not.
Nope. I would argue probably not. All
right, well, thanks for listening. Make sure you download the podcast app, subscribe to it, subscribe here. Just do all the shit.
Buy Benchwarmer. Follow at Benchwarmer Brew on Twitter. We're tweeting pretty consistently there. Got some good Benchwarmer NFL player content. Great night last night for Benchwarmer with Fitzpatrick. And then watch our game day videos that come out on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. We film them on Tuesday, but
Wednesday on the game day YouTube.
Wednesday.
Bada boom. Good night.
And good luck.
John Hammer waiting for you.